All right. Thank you. I feel like I should be coming out to get an Oscar or something. Okay, well, I'm Ann Kelso. I'm with InterSystems, and joining me is Raghu Kotamasu from Broadridge. We are very excited to be here in person. It's really nice to be back at these events and see people face to face. So one of the things that was discussed at the beginning was about looking at new innovations and new approaches and new solutions for future-proofing. So I hope our presentation will help guide you in terms of what we're doing. I'm going to start off with giving you a very high-level position of InterSystems and the problems that we solve for financial services organizations. All right, so leading financial services firms rely on InterSystems and the InterSystems Iris data platform. What the InterSystems Iris data platform is it's built from the ground up, and it contains many piece parts of functionalities for data management. So it's a comprehensive data management solution. And what we do is we work with organizations to automate complex business processes. We also provide accurate and we power accurate insights for decisioning. And how we do that is with on-demand, real-time data. This data can be distributed across the enterprise, or it can be data that is on-prem, off-prem, a variety of types of data, a variety of sources, as well as frequencies. And what makes this kind of unique is the fact that this type of an architecture gives you the capacity to have a consistent data layer, or what's known as a data fabric. So what does this result in? This results in a simpler architecture because you don't have all these piece parts that you have to put together. You basically have this one unified data management portion or solution, and part of that will give you the ability to have not only the simpler architecture, but a faster time to value, much lower TCO, and all of this, of course, as everyone here, the most important thing is to have mission-critical reliability. So with that, I hope I gave you kind of the backdrop of the Business 360 harmonizing data piece. I will now hand it over to Raghu, who will talk about the next generation wealth management platform that he is building. This is the first complete wealth utility entirely in the cloud. Hopefully I have enough time and I can come back and give you some examples of our use cases and solutions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, and that was awesome. So welcome, nice to see you guys, nice to talk to all of you. As Ann said, I work for Broadridge Financial Solutions. Not going to cover too much of Broadridge. You can catch a lot of that information online. But before I start my agenda, a wise man once told me a tip about presentations. First is tell what you're going to tell. Second is actually tell. And the third is tell again what you told. So I'm going to use that mantra. What I'm going to talk about is our approach towards data fabric, our view about data fabric, the goals that we had to satisfy using data fabric, and then finally how InterSystems has helped us in data fabric, if that makes sense, yeah? So our business goals, and if you look up data fabric as a definition, you're going to find a lot of, I'd say, very vague notions about data fabric. Data fabric is not a product, it's not an application, it's a concept, okay? For us, we started with defining our business goals. What are our goals that our technology organizations, CTOs, CEOs were trying to resolve? We found out that this is pretty standard. All of us always look at it, whether it is data processing, persistence, data security, high performance, access to large data, multi-cloud, 24/7 resiliency, data lineage, data catalog. I don't think any of this is any foreign to any of you in the tech or the fintech world, right? A couple of things that I wanted to stress on is, as I expanded on the data processing, we had certain guidelines that we realized based on our failures, and I call them failures because they were learning lessons out of the failures of our journey on data warehouses and data lakes. Single source of reference. right? We did not want to bring all the data from all over the world into a single database and cause reconciliation issues, out of sync issues, and so on and so forth. We wanted to figure out how we can use a single source of reference or a single source of or bringing us all the data to one place. Access data across different legacy applications. That was a big deal for us, especially being Broadridge. Based on acquisitions, we had systems using mainframes, AS400s, .NETs, Java, all sort of systems. And we wanted to make sure that we have access to all the data across all the legacy applications. And one of the guidelines was, can we have consistent access via API, led by APIs? Yeah. So value proposition, we put our value proposition together, and I stress on this slide because if you go to embark on this journey of data fabric, it's very important to figure out what your value proposition is, because it's very easy to get swayed based on the technology solutions that will be thrown at you to go in a different direction. You have to be focused, and finding your why, as Simon Sinek says, was very key, for us to make sure that we are all focused in the right goals. So some of our value propositions was, the first one is normalized data. Being a company built on acquisitions, legacy systems, you can imagine that we have different data stores, different, nomenclatures, if I can call them, as simple as the same security is called security in some systems, product in some systems, instrument in some systems. And we want to make sure that we have normalized that data, have formats that are consistent, right? A common API connection, a common API layer that gives you the access to that data. Layers, both from a data perspective and API perspective, that gives you consistent risk analytics, performance analytics, and so on and so forth. This was very key for us because being in the fintech industry, being in a regulatory world, we had to keep 7, 10, 13 years of data in certain cases. Getting access, fast retrieval access to all this data was very important, and we had to make sure how we do that. Of course, not all data, but the key transactional data. Of course, flexible data ingestion. As we said, we wanted to be multi-cloud, cloud agnostic, if I can call it, and irrespective of the technologies, we want to make sure we have flexible data ingestion. And I call this smart data aggregation. This is where InterSystems helped us a lot, but smart data aggregation is all about making sure that you're not just bringing data for the heck of bringing data together, like we did in the data warehouse and data lake world, yeah? But creating a layer that can actually bring that all together. Going to the next slide. So how did we approach this? We broke our approach into different layers. Data integration was one. We had to think about our real-time and intraday needs. This is where we had systems that were batch-oriented. For some of you know, Wall Street still runs a lot of their transaction processing on mainframes, and we're still dealing with those, the legacy applications. So bringing that system, making sure that the data can be accessed real-time, actually processing events real-time was key, and we had to figure out how we're going to do that. Third-party stores, we have a lot of data that we have to, our clients build their own systems because they have to integrate our data with third-party data, and we have to figure out how we can give that access, bringing third-party data in so that they have consistent access for it. Data storages, again, varied data storages. We didn't want to solve all the problem, but one of our biggest problems was that we wanted to bring legacy data out. So we have systems that all the distributed systems can start accessing legacy data through a more REST sort of an interface. We also took this journey to figure out how we can stop adding to our legacy systems and make sure that once you have data outside the legacy systems, start building applications out on top of that, right, through API-led integrations. Data processing, federated search, again, that's where InterSystems helped us a lot, actually, bringing data into InterSystems the way they, and I know Anne and her team can talk about the features of Iris as a database, amazing features that we can leverage for creating searches and AI/ML capabilities. Data access, as I said, again, I keep repeating myself, API-led integrations, building all integrations via APIs. But we also had to have real-time streaming, and that's where, you can use any of these streaming technologies, but we ended up with using Kafka for scalability and cloud-agnostic reasons. But that's how we provided access for all real-time data. And data governance has no say across everything that you do. You need to make sure you have data lineage and data cataloging and all that stuff taken care of. So we had to take this approach in this manner. Each of these had to solve key, in my mind, two use cases that I want to stress on today. Is one, giving real-time access to data, especially when things are coming out of the legacy systems, so we can stop building on the legacy systems. And second is giving consistency for access to data across our ecosystem. So if we have a normalized data, we have normalized nomenclatures, so it doesn't matter which system you're talking to, you're talking the same language. So our final approach, this is what we call as the aggregation layer. We were a little skeptical of calling it as the data lake, data warehouse, or because people have some connotations about it. Data fabric is an overall concept that you bring. I believe data fabric is a journey that you have to take. It's not going to happen overnight. And the aggregation layer is just a piece of the data fabric that we're going to talk about. Our idea was that we have the aggregation tier, we have a cache, we have data. So we had issues with our positions, balances, tax lot system, because these were all legacy systems sitting on the mainframes, AS400s, and different varied systems. We had to bring that out. Iris helped us there to bring data, bulk load of data every night, refreshing it, reconciling it with our systems, making it available real time. But at the same time, we had reference data that was already sitting on our distributed systems. And instead of actually making copies of it and making it available to every system that needs it, we built APIs on top of it, but we also provide a cache node. And that's where Iris helped us also to bring reference data under the cache. So, and we can provide those cache nodes for every system. So every system is not managing the data by themselves, but we are populating the caches for them, and it's consistent because all the cache nodes talk to each other and are consistent across the ecosystem. Of course, we have all the core processing engines using all of these systems through APIs. And once we have this ecosystem for legacy data and API layer, which is where we use, again, I'm not promoting MuleSoft, but we use MuleSoft because it gives you a good API management layer. We use MuleSoft to expose the APIs across that. All the processing engines were either talking via APIs or through these cache nodes to the same single source of reference. And that's how we solved our problem of data fabric. I wouldn't say solve, we are on the journey of solving, right? Systems get integrated. The idea was to put this concept together and then over a period of time start integrating systems into this and building it out. Of course, we had a huge number of NFRs that we had to take care of from our business. 4.2 million accounts, 2 million transactions daily, 42 million positions daily that we were handling with, 7 years of data that we had to retain for every client, cost basis information, and so on and so forth. As Anne said, we have a very strict, because it's a fintech world, because it's financial data, and we were building it for wealth management, it was 24/7. So I know we have the RTO, it's near zero. We had to make sure of that, and all these layers with using cloud technologies and InterSystems, we've been able to come close to that. We're still not there. We do have a few things, glitches that we have to take care of, but we are on that journey to get there. And so I think that's all I have. As I said, we are still, it's our approach. We are not there, we are on a journey. I believe Data Fabric is a journey which will go on for 5 to 10 years. We have to take, the good part about this fabric journey is you can take small pieces of it. If you have the overall big picture, you can actually move it along and actually show a benefit to the business. So we did that. We'll build out the base functional components, base components, whether it's the API layer, the database layer. We build those base components. We started making sure that we start integrating a system at a time, build APIs for that, and expose that out. Started decoupling applications so that systems can depend on those APIs versus, and the cache nodes versus actually integrating hardbound with each application and building on top of a legacy application. And that decomposition of legacy monolithic applications was the biggest advantage that Broadridge has seen. And we are now trying to start, we are able to now focus on building out systems outside our legacy mainframe applications with this approach. I believe I'm done. Yep, I'll hand it over back to Anne.
Okay, I'm going to try to talk really fast because I think I only have like less than a minute. But What I think is interesting is, this is an example that Raghu gave you of harmonizing data, having Business 360. There's a number of use cases that we have, and also customizable solution. I'll exemplify a couple of these because I think they're interesting, and they're probably something many of you can relate to. The first one is the business management reporting, or Business 360, and this is a use case that we worked on with one of the Japanese banks. And what they wanted to do was, across their lines of business, they wanted to get the ability to have self-service, on-demand reports rather than wait 7 to 14 days. So what we were able to do is we took historical, we took transactional analytics data, and again, on demand, with self-service capabilities, they're able to generate the reports and the analytics that they require. The other one that I'll talk about, I'm going to skip some of these because I am out of time, and they're probably going to come and grab me off the stage here. But the other one I'll talk about is the customer hyper-personalization one. And this was a mid-sized retail institution. During COVID, what happened was they had to close their retail branches, but they wanted to service their client base and maintain customer loyalty and try to grow their business at the same time. So what we did is we helped them by combining their core banking systems, their CRM systems, and so forth, and some external data sources as well. And they came up with 30 behavioral metrics whereby they were able to target the right products, the right clients, and actually, during the time of COVID, with the retail branches closed, they increased their business by 57%, so it was pretty cool. The last slide I will show you is just the wide and varied logos. We have customers across the globe. They range from fintechs, retail, solution providers, and large investment banks. We would welcome the opportunity to have a conversation with you and explain further, myself and Raghu, what we're doing. And we're next to the barista by the coffee station, so stop on in. All right, thank you.